Alright guys, laid out in front of me I have an assortment of supplies. As you can see, this is pretty much what I work with at all times. Let me just give you a rundown of what we're going to use today. I've got this cute ribbon right here, and it says I can be a sweetheart, but sometimes I'm just a tart. And I've shared this in a recent haul. This is from Rollin' & Ribbon. This is going to be the focal point of my bow, the saying that is. Then we've got various prints to go along with it, some 7/8 inch. And then I've got a 1.5 inch. This is going to be for my base bow. Share with you the rest of the prints. They are pink, gold, and black. They're beautiful. All right, so we've got our ribbon. And I'm also going to be working with some trims. I've not really decided what exactly I'm going to put, but of course we've got some gold sparkly tulle. You can't make a bow without gold sparkly tulle, right? I've got some lace. This is a black lace. You can get this at Walmart. I think that's where I picked it up. Then I've got an assortment of flowers here. These come from ribbonsandbowsomai.com, and they are adorable. And then of course a sequin bow. Hadn't decided if I'm going to use that. We've got some sequin buttons, cute gold sequin buttons, and another little flower. I'm using my cardboard template, 4-inch cardboard template that is. I've got a Sickle-on clip just in case I need it. A couple of clothespins just in case I need them to hold down some ribbon. I've got my no bow, no go template. This is for trimming my spikes. You just put your ribbon under here and cut it with my wood burner. And I'm going to use this. I'll probably use it for my spikes when I cut the ends. And then when I put them together, I like to dab them in the middle so they can hold themselves together. Hold themselves together. All right, then I have some thread. This is embroidery floss thread stuff. Yeah. Of course, we've got a little stiff and quick. I've got a pencil because sometimes I need to, mark on a piece of ribbon to find out where my folds are. And then I've got a little pen, the little ballpoint pen. Of course, I've got my lighter to heat seal. I've got a pair of good sharp scissors, and my glue gun is actually over there plugged up and getting hot. All right, but this is pretty much the majority of what I'm going to be working with. Of course, I might throw some other things in there, but we are going to make a hair bow today. Alright guys, the first thing that I like to work on is the topper bow, which today we're going to be making a twisted boutique bow for the topper. Of course, you don't have to work on the topper bow first, you can work on your base bow. The reason I like to do the topper bow is because, well, for one, it's a habit, and for two, I like everything underneath my topper to line up before I actually put it on the base bow. But if you want to, go ahead and start on your base bow. It's just a habit and a preference, you guys. All right, so I'm going to be working with 27 inches of 7/8 inch ribbon, and it's that cute little heart print. And this is going to make a nice size 4-inch width bow. All right, so that's going to be the size on top of my hair bow, a 4-inch topper. All right, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to heat seal both of the ends, very much necessary. You don't want any of that ribbon unraveling on you. All right, now what I like to do, make sure your print, if you're working with a print that's got words on it, make sure it's upside down. Now we're going to come and I'm going to fold it right there in the middle. Now you can crease really good, or you can take your lighter and just run along the edge there, and that will just make it where you can see your crease a little bit better. All right, so I fold it once, and then I come and I fold it another time, and then I'll do the same thing, just come along, just so we can see that crease just a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to unfold it. Now, the reason why you put the creases in it is just going to give you an idea of where you need to start folding your loops. You don't have to do that. If you're pretty much good at just hand folding, you don't need to do this. All right, so print is upside down. Now I'm just going to come and I'm going to form that first loop, and I'm going to put my tail right here over the crease, or you can do it even beside the crease. It's totally up to you. But there's our first loop. Then I'm going to come, you see your other crease, you're just going to bring it over and fold it over your first loop. And you can kind of fold them and see if they measure up. You just want them measured up nice and even. All right. Now for the bottom, you can come and find that crease again. And we're going to bring it underneath. So you'll have 3 loops. 3 loops now. And then the remaining loop, of course, will go on top. Just like that. And then I just flip it over. And I'll look at it, and if something is not even, I will just go ahead and adjust it, but everything's looking pretty good at this point. Then you can go ahead and crease it. Here's the back. Alright, so I'm just going to do a 3-fold crease, press down, press up, and then press down again. And then bam, right there is where you can tie it off with your thread. Alright guys, here's the Twisted Boutique bow once I secured the middle with my thread. Now this bow is going to be for Kennedy, so I did not double layer my ribbons. But if you are in the hair bow business and you're going to be gifting this to someone or selling it, I do recommend double layering your ribbon so you don't have to see the inside of this one, which is not double-sided. There's black on the inside, but of course it's for Kennedy. She's not going to mind. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this on a towel. And I'm going to give it a spray with my Stiff and Quick, and I'm going to allow it to dry while I'm working on my spikes. Okay, onto the spikes. These are the fillers that I'm going to be using for the spikes, and since my topper bow measures 4 inches, I'm going to clip each one of these into 5-inch pieces. I'm going to do 2 of each. I'm going to do 2 of this pink, the dot, the black, and then 2 of each. So I'll have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pieces in all. Okay guys, there's a couple of different ways you can trim up your spikes ends. Of course, I mentioned my no bow, no go template earlier. What you do is you just put your ribbon up under this. You'll need a piece of glass. I've got a picture frame around here that I like to use. You put your ribbon up under it, and then you can take your wood burning tool. Hello, I can't even talk today. And then you just go along the edges, and it gives it a nice fine cut and seal all at the same time, and it's all even. Or what you can do is take your ribbon, and I like to fold mine in half like this, and then I like to take it and fold it again the other way like this. And then you can take your scissors. Now you have to have sharp scissors, and then you can just trim along the top there. Just give it a cut. And then you have both done at the same time. And then you can heat seal with your lighter, which I think I'm going to do this method today instead of my wood burning tool. Give that another little dip of the lighter. Alright, so they're both sealed and trimmed. So yeah, you just take it, fold it in half one way, make sure your ends are lining up, fold it the other way, make sure everything is lined up, line it up, and then take your scissors and go up like that. Just give it a little trim. Then take your lighter and just seal it up. And then you're done. You're done all in one swoop. Alright, so go ahead and trim up your spikes, and then we'll put them together. Okay, now a lot of people like to go ahead and fan out and assemble your spikes before you do the trimming and the heat sealing. I, on the other hand, like to heat seal and trim prior to that, because I find that when I'm tugging and pulling on your spikes to get them even, that sometimes some of the threads will come unraveled, making me have to like trim the spikes too short, and I just don't like doing that. Anyways, again, it's a preference. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and fan these out into like the spike shape, and just put your ribbons together 2 and 2, like I have laid out here. What I'm going to do is take my little push pin here. It's got a little ball right there on the end. It's very important that it has something to you hold on to. All right, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this today. Now you can do it several ways. I've got other tutorials assembling spikes. It's just however you want to. All right, so I'm going to probably do these two first, the pink and the black swirl. All right, I'm just going to line my spikes up together, make sure they're even, and I'm going to fold them in half. I'm going to fold them evenly in half, just like that. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to take, you want to crease it right there. Now you can take your lighter and of course do the crease trick and unfold them, and you can see your crease. And then I'm going to take my little push pin and put it right there in that crease right in the middle. See how I've got that? All right, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing all the way to the top. Just make sure you're lining them up, and then I'm going to fold them in the middle just to find the middle, and then you can put it down on your push pin right on top of the others. All right, do the exact same thing all the way to the top. Just make sure everything is good and even. All right, where's my little push pin? Push it down in the middle. This is going to make it easier when we fan everything out. All right, now you just want to take everything. You can hold your little pin right there with your hand so nothing is going anywhere. All right, and we're just going to start fanning all your spikes out. And I like to do one color on one side and then the other on the opposite side. So you just want to fan everything out, and then you can work on getting it all even. See, just start working it until everything is even. Now to get it even, I like to just line up the corners here, the little edges where they barely touch each other. So just work with that until you have it in the desired look that you are going for, and then we will crease it. Okay, once you have finished your placement of your spikes, I like to take out that little pin, and of course this would be on a picture frame or a piece of glass because I'm using my wood burning tool, but of course this is not plugged up and I'm not doing it yet. I'm just for example purposes only. If this was plugged up, it would be very hot and I would not be holding it around like this because let me tell you, this thing is no joke. All right, anyways, what I like to do, like I said, put it on a picture frame or a piece of glass, take your wood burner because it's going to be really, really hot, and then go in the very center and just burn one hole all the way through. And this just holds everything together, and then it will help me when I go to crease it and tie it off. Okay guys, really quick, I'm going to show you, see right there in the center is the hole where I put my wood burner through. See, it went all the way through, and it's just holding everything until I can get over here and crease it and then tie it off with the thread, which leads me to that. We are going to go ahead and fold it up and crease it. What I like to do is take it, hold it in the center, and then I'm just going to fold everything and kind of make sure everything matches up. So just fold it right there in the center and kind of line up all of your ribbons, and it just shows you where you need to put your thread right there in the center. All right, so go ahead and wrap everything tight. with your thread. I like to wrap it a few times. So just go ahead and start wrapping, 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 and then you can pull it tight in just a second. All right, go ahead and pull really tight. Don't worry about your spikes going anywhere because they're not. All right, and then I'm just going to tie it off right there. Clip it good. All right, and then I'm going to tie it off. And then we're going to unfold everything and even everything out with a little bit of hot glue. Tie this baby off. Make sure you double knot. Okay, flip over your spikes, and this is what I like to call tug of war. It's not going to look pretty, but creasing it in the middle is going to be a definite must, especially if you like to wrap your entire bow. I don't like a bulky bow, so I definitely have to have it creased in the middle. All right, so now we're going to turn it over here, and we're going to pull, and we're going to tug, and we're going to make sure everything is even. We're going to have to fan everything out just a little bit more. Now, this is where I like to use my hot glue, just a little bit. You're going to come and you're going to line up the edges of your spikes. Just add just a little dab of glue on each spike, and you can press them down and they will stay put and they'll be pretty again, I promise. All right, so go ahead and add your glue. Remember, tug and pull on everything to make sure it's even and it matches up and everything's just lined up. And then remember, just a little bit of glue underneath each spike and put them edge to edge. You'll do that to every one and they're all fanned out and pretty. And then once you're finished with your spikes, you can give it a spray. Now, I don't like to spray these too much. I don't want them too crisp, but I do spray it a couple of times and allow these to dry, and then we can work on the next part of the bow. All right, guys, the last part of the bow, we are going to be making the base bow, and I'm using a 1.5 inch ribbon. It's lovely, measures 22 inches in length. We're just gonna make a 4-inch pinwheel, and I'm using my cardboard fancy template. And if you need, you can use salon clip. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And put it in the middle where you can, you know, sew it up. All right, so we are going to go ahead and wrap it just like you would, just a normal pinwheel, nothing fancy. 1, 2, and 3. There we go. Now, you can go ahead and put this in the center and sew it up, but I just, you know, I'm a rebel. I just slide it off, and then I'm going to go ahead and crease it down the center. 1, 2, 3, what the heck, we'll do 4. All right, so there it is. Tie it off with your thread, and of course you want to trim up your ends and heat seal those suckers. All right, really quick, I'm going to share with you all of my pieces, all 3 of them on my raggedy towel. They are actually, they've been sprayed and I'm just waiting on them to dry. I'm going to leave them sitting here for about 30 minutes to an hour while I go and fold some laundry, maybe cook some dinner. By that time, they'll be done, and we can add all the other pretties to make this a cute hair bow. Okay, now that all of my bow parts are completely dry, here is the Twisted Boutique Topper. We've got my pinwheel base, the spikes. I'm just working with 3 bow parts. I'm going to go ahead and attach these to a fully lined French barrette, just my preference. I like to go ahead and attach it to my clip before I start adding any additional items. The additional items that I will be working with, I've got some of that gold tulle. I made a little tulle puff. It's going to go at the top of the bow. And then I found some of this heart tulle. It's white and pink. And I'm going to put that to the side. I think I'm going to be working with this pink sequin bow with this little button in the middle. And so far that's pretty much all I've decided. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start layering my bow. Of course, your pinwheel is on the bottom, and I just put a little bit of glue, and then I'll add my spikes right there to the center, more glue, and then I will add the topper right there at the top, and then I will take my thread after everything is glued and I'll wrap it a few times before I glue the back to the clip. And then once it's on the clip, I will use the thread and I will wrap it around the bow and the clip. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then we will finish. The bow is now on the clip, and all I did to cover up the little pesky thread right there was just put a piece of 3/8 inch ribbon right on top of it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add our other goodies, which I said I've got this gold sparkly tool and I've got glitter everywhere. So I'm thinking that I'm going to add this. I'm gonna sandwich it between my base bow and the back of my spikes. I want it to be right here at the top, kind of just peeking out. So I'm going to push it down. Might trim it up some. Yeah, I'm going to trim it up a lot, but it's going to go right here at the top of the entire bow. It's just going to fan out, but I am going to trim that down. But it's going to be sandwiched right here between the base and the spikes. All right, let me trim that down a little bit, and then we can go ahead and apply it. Okay, I went ahead and added the gold tool right here in between that pinwheel and then right on the back of my spikes. All right, if you can see it all puffy. Now, of course, you can trim it to your liking, but I think I'm going to leave it at this length. So frou-frou. All right, so now I'm going to take my other tool puff, which is the white and the pink heart, and I'm going to come up here to the side of my spikes, right behind them and on top of this gold tool at the corner. And that's where I'm going to insert that tool puff, just right there on the corner. See, it poofs out. So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just fold back my spikes, add a little bit of glue, and then insert that right down there where it's sticking out of the corner over here. Now I am going to use this pink sequin bow, and I'm going to put it right in the center of that tool right there at the corner. I'm just going to add a little bit of glue right there on the back and stick it up there. And of course, if you want to use a little sequin button like this one, this is gold, I'm just going to put it right there in the center. It's going to be so cute. Here is what everything looks like fully put together. I've got the little sequin bow with the glitter button, all of my tulle, and of course now you'll want to go around and just make sure everything is even. You might need to give your tulle a little trim in a few places. Make sure all your glue strings are out of the way, and you can do that just by heating it up just a little bit and just going around, and it should get any loose glue strings. All right, so I'm going to add something to the center of this bow. Now, I was going to use this cute pink cameo with a black bottle cap, and I was going to put a matching bottle cap right here in the center, but of course I can't find my bottle cap images that JC sent me. So I'm going to go with a felty that she sent me, and I'm going to leave all of the details down below in the descriptions box where you can get all of the ribbon and even the little felties. Alright, so I'm just going to add some glue to the back of this felty that I have trimmed, and it's going to go right there in the center, and then I'm going to give it a gander and see if I want to add maybe some side bows or anything. If not, I'll go ahead and add my clasp back, and it's ready to be worn. Alright guys, there it is, completely finished. I decided not to add anything else to it. I did add my little clasp back here and shut it up so we can wear it. So cute. All right, but that's going to wrap it up for this video. Thanks for sticking around for the full, complete walkthrough of this cute Valentine's Day bow. Y'all let me know in the comment section what kind of bow you'd like to see for the next walkthrough, and I will see you guys in the next video.